Joe Stradinger will give the next presentation on cloud-based conversations, the first and next big thing. Joe Stradinger is the founder and CEO at Edge Theory. Edge Theory is a find engine that creates, publishes, and engages social messages to potential customers. Joe Stradinger is a Mississippi-based entrepreneur, venture capitalist, and technology consultant with 2 decades of experience of founding and growing innovative technology companies.
No matter what kind of business you think you're in, ultimately you're in the communications business. If you're a writer, a TV producer, a web designer, if you're in advertising, public relations, or politics, you make your living in the communications business. But even if you don't make your living in the communications business directly, chances are the art and science of communication is vital to the success of your business or organization. For the last 500 years, conversation has been on the decline. Let me explain how that happened. First, the printing press came along. Then a few hundred years later, the radio, and then finally TV. Communication was a one-way street at this point, not about a two-way street like it was with conversation. Then something happened in the 1990s that would begin to change all of that. It was the rise of the internet. How many of you remember this noise? Soon after the internet started making its way into every home in America on those little AOL CD-ROMs that we all received in our mailboxes, conversation was once again the hottest commodity. From online chat rooms to sites like MySpace and Friendster and later Facebook and Twitter. But few people predicted that good old conversation, the world's first communication technology, would become the dominant communication technology once again. But that's exactly what happened. The problem with having so much information available to all of us all at once was that it was not organized and it was not searchable. Something had to happen. And what happened was that search engines like Yahoo, Lycos, AltaVista saw that indexing and organizing all the information and making it all easily searchable was a path to industry dominance. The search age had arrived. Soon after, Google came along and finally figured out how to make money at it. But what I want to talk about today is the age I believe that we're in now, the find age. The find age is an age where you no longer can afford to wait to be found. You have to go find. It is not good enough anymore to wait for people to look for you, wait for people to search for you. You have to go find. If you think of this in terms of the consumer journey, at the top of obviously a funnel, the consumer does not know who you are. At the bottom of the funnel, they've converted and they're now you have business with them. When we look at the search age and the find age, at the bottom of the funnel, those are the people that are looking for you. They're already looking for you, so therefore they're going to find you. But what about all the people at the top of the funnel, the people that are not looking for you? We call those pre-customers. Pre-customers are those who have not are not looking for you. And there's a lot more pre-customers not looking for you than those that are looking for you. And it's very important to point out that to get to that bottom part of the funnel, you got to go through the top part of the funnel. So the challenge becomes how to find pre-customers who are not yet looking for you. The answer, find their conversations. You know, I grew up in the Mississippi Delta where I learned conversation very quickly. Where I grew up, we did not have lots of other stuff, so conversation was a form of entertainment. I learned that gift of conversation, spending time with adults, my parents, their friends, my friends. That gift of conversation helped me put myself in a situation to go over to Budapest, Hungary, and to go work where democracy was coming in and communism was removing itself. And I later used that same gift of conversation when I came back to Dallas, Texas, where I started my first internet company to sell music online when Amazon was just selling books. In chat rooms to go find those pre-customers that weren't looking for us because no one had ever sold music online before. I use that same gift of conversation with Edge Theory, where we have a company that helps businesses with conversation day to day. So in the find age, as we talked about, you must find the conversation, and it's all about intersections. And so what do we mean about intersections? Well, how do we find people that are not looking for you? Well, you do that by understanding your pre-customer. All humans, we have passions, we have lifestyles, we live in certain locations, we're a certain demographic. We could be a baby boomer, we could be a millennial, we could be single, we could be divorced, we could love biking, hiking, skiing, we love dating. All of these are intersections for that pre-customer. So in the find age, as we talked about, you must find the conversation, and it's all about intersections. And so what do we mean about intersections? Well, how do we find people that are not looking for you? Well, you do that by understanding your pre-customer. All humans, we have passions, we have lifestyles, we live in certain locations, we're a certain demographic. We could be a baby boomer, we could be a millennial, we could be single, we could be divorced, we could love biking, hiking, skiing, we love dating. All of these are intersections for that pre-customer. Let's just assume that you have a vacation home and that vacation home is in Aspen, Colorado. Let's make the assumption someone watching today is in the banking business, as well as someone watching today is in the healthcare industry. When we think about these three types of businesses, whether you have a vacation home that you rent, you're a banker, or you're a medical clinic, let's go through each of these. First, if you have a vacation home and you rent that out and it's in Aspen, Colorado, and it's a 4-bedroom home, ski in, ski out, and if you put all that information on your website, and there are people out there looking for a 4-bedroom that is ski in, ski out, they are going to find you. If you're a banker and you're selling a home equity line currently at a low interest rate, and if you on your website advertise that you sell a home equity line and you have a special rate, and there is actually someone out there searching for a home equity line, they're going to find you. And lastly, if you're a healthcare clinic and you do screenings for colon cancer, and if you put on your website that you do screenings for colon cancer, and if someone is looking to be screened, then guess what? They're going to find you. But again, in all these cases, they're looking for you. Now, let's talk about the find age in more detail, and let's talk about the pre-customer. In this example, let's call this pre-customer Henry. Henry is 50 years old. He's not looking to go rent a home in Aspen. He's not looking for a home equity line, and he's certainly not looking for a colonoscopy. So let's talk about how we can still find this pre-customer Henry without expecting him to look for us. Well, first, Henry loves James Taylor. 25 years ago when he met his bride, they listened to James Taylor. 25 years later, he would love to take his bride to go see James Taylor in concert for their 25th anniversary. Why is this important? James Taylor is playing in Aspen, Colorado. So as a vacation home owner, using Twitter and using Facebook and all the great social media out there, you can create very active conversation to find that pre-customer. For example, you could say on your Twitter account, what's your favorite James Taylor song? Stay in this beautiful home and see him sing Fire and Rain live in Aspen. That is the kind of intersecting conversation you can have to find Henry. Henry wants to have a pool in his backyard. He just got a bonus, not quite enough to build that pool, but he and his wife talk about it on Facebook with their friends. Well, why is this important if I'm a banker to talk about pools? Because Henry needs a home equity line to build the pool. So if you're a banker, the way you're going to find this pre-customer Henry is to go talk about the lifestyles and the things that he wants, whether it's to build a man cave or to build a pool. Here's the kind of message you could use, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, and you could say, parties, cookouts, memories. Imagine the family fun you can have around your own swimming pool. Let us make your dreams come true. Link2bank.com. That again is going to find people like Henry. And guess what? There's a lot more Henrys looking for pools and to build pools and talking about barbecues and family than there are looking for a home equity line. And lastly, Henry is not looking for a colonoscopy. But Henry's 50 years old. He's hitting that midlife crisis, and Henry wants a Harley Davidson. Why is that important to you, the hospital clinic? Because you must engage in the conversation that these pre-customers are having around their lifestyle, which is buying sports cars or buying a Harley Davidson, so that you can find Henrys who are never going to look for you, because they're not going to go Google, I want a colonoscopy. If you're a healthcare clinic, this is the kind of tweet that you could have. Turning 50, you deserve to celebrate this milestone with a Harley Davidson. But seriously, don't forget to get a colonoscopy. Link to your medical clinic. Let me give you two real examples. First, here's a college. This is a college in the Deep South. This college is very smart in understanding how they find the pre-student, okay? Again, that's that pre-customer, that pre-student. There's a lot of things that make this college special, but in this case, they have a wonderful equestrian team. But this is a college located in Mississippi. Well, they know they need to grow their enrollment well beyond those that know who they are and those that are searching for them. So they go out there and tweet things around the equestrian lifestyle so that they can find the pre-student who lives in California who's never going to search for this college in the Deep South. Here's an example where a college could tweet the following. Can't imagine not riding horses every day? You can ride every day after class at Mississippi College. Link to the college. These types of messages are going to find those pre-customers and those young pre-students or pre-recruits that in this case would never ever look for this college. Viking Range. As many of y'all know, Viking is a worldwide brand in the kitchen around appliances. Fred Carl, who built this company, a genius, he did not have the privilege to wait for people to look for him because if you know his story, in 1987, he built this entire company, creating an entirely new category. There was no commercial range in the kitchen before Viking. Most people laughed at him. If it wasn't for his wife, she was the only person that he knew that really wanted one or was asking for one. So he had to go find the pre-customer who was not looking for him. So what did Fred Carl do? He built a brand around owning the conversation and engaging in those intersecting conversations around cooking and culinary lifestyle. So he talked about fried chicken. He talked about all these things that were intersecting conversations to go find these men and women who were obviously not looking for something that never existed before. And he built a heck of a brand, one of the most powerful prestige brands now today. This brand owns that conversation. As we talk further about conversation and the amounts of conversation, like it or not, people are talking. The fact is, there's lots of people talking. There's lots of pre-customers that are talking every day, and we can choose or not choose to go engage them in that conversation. So we got to look at a couple stats here. Let's take Facebook. 1.2 billion users. That's roughly a fifth of the population of the world. 47% of Americans say Facebook is their number one influencer of purchases. Now hear that again. 47% of Americans say Facebook is their number one influencer of purchases. I would ask each of you, do you spend 47% of your marketing budget today on Facebook or social media? Twitter is obviously my favorite platform out there, the most misunderstood. And by the way, it is not a social platform. It is a publishing platform. 550 million active users. 34% of companies say they use Twitter to market themselves. The fastest growing demographic on Twitter, the fastest growing, is the age bracket of 55 to 64 years of age. That demographic has grown by 79% since 2012. Just think about that. And we can't stop with looking at, social stats without talking about mobile. Mobile is changing the world, fundamentally changing the world. 91% of mobile internet access is used for social media. That means 91% of the time people pick up a smartphone. 91% of the time they're having conversations. 25% of mobile users cannot remember the last time their phone was out of earshot. Now listen to that. 25% of mobile users cannot remember the last time their phone was out of earshot. That's just scary. A real interesting stat that I love is when you look at the percentage of high school seniors who had a driver's license in 1996 as compared to the percentage of high school seniors who had one in 2012, it went from 85% down to 73%. What does that mean? Why is that important? Well, number one, less people are driving cars by billboards, but if you really think about it, when I was growing up in the 80s and I got my car keys, I used those car keys to get in the car to drive across town to actually have a conversation. Or maybe I actually picked up my friend and we had a conversation while we were driving. But today, that's not the case. Young people today, their escape is not the car keys. It is the phone, the mobile device. And if you let that sink in and think of that, that fundamentally changes economies, it changes states, it changes governments, and clearly it changes the way you need to think of your pre-customer. All right, we've been talking about conversation, and I want to think of this in the context of the front porch. That's where I learned my conversation growing up. But and we love porches, and porches are still great places you can have authentic conversation. But today, the front porch is in the palm of your pre-customer's hand, and there is millions and millions, if not billions, of people that have that front porch in their hand, and we can choose or not choose to go create conversation to find that pre-customer who is not yet looking for you. Now, I'm a recovering CPA. I passed the CPA 25 years ago, and I understand balance sheets, I understand financials, I understand spreadsheets. I'm really good with numbers, but I've evolved, as you can probably tell with me talking today, into a passionate marketer. And I've seen, but in my 45 years so far in life, looking at life both from a financial lens as well as today from a marketing lens, I will tell you that no matter what your business is, whether it's a for-profit, nonprofit, faith-based group, you name it, conversation is your single biggest asset on your balance sheet. And I think if you think of that as an asset, conversation, and just think about if you can go out there and have a share of that conversation, that's going to logically lead to mind share, which leads to market share, which leads to growth